Hello?
Hi.
Hey, it worked.
Yeah, this time.
Finally. Okay, so basically I'm doing a series right now where I'm basically just interviewing people with personality disorders
Mm-hmm.
to try to learn more about like the perspective of how of basically the perspective of people with personality disorders. I feel like it's super important. I feel like it's super misunderstood and I kind of want to like learn more about it and like share that. And so this is on my podcast, obviously, and I'm also going to upload it to my YouTube channel. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. And anything you're uncomfortable with being shared, let me know and I'll cut it out.
Okay.
Okay. So, first, just introduce yourself to, and then, sorry, I'm really nervous. But yeah, tell us your name and tell us a little bit about you, age, or anything you want to share.
So I'm 23 years old. I live in Bulgaria. I live with my brother. Um, we don't get along with our parents, so we've been alone for years.
You said you don't get along with who?
My parents,
Mm. So
our
you
parents.
and your brother live alone?
Yeah, for years.
Okay, got it. Okay, and what is your diagnosis?
It's borderline personality disorder.
Got it. Okay, so were you diagnosed by a doctor or are you self-diagnosed?
It was by a doctor.
And do you agree with your diagnosis, or are you like I don't know if this quite fits?
I actually do because I've been misdiagnosed a few times with bipolar, psychosis, depression, and that kind of stuff, and none of it really fits. So, after years of therapy and medications and everything, they finally figured it out. And now that they know what's happening to me and that I know, the therapy has been going really well, and I do feel a little more under control.
Well, that's amazing. I'm glad that things are looking up for you. Um, so what was it like when you got the diagnosis? Was it like a relief or was it distressing? I know because of the stigma and and such that sometimes the diagnosis can be distressing and a bit of a burden. So how did that work for you?
So when I got the diagnosis, I felt a relief because I wasn't aware of the stigma until I I read about it after. And in my country, people don't understand like most of the mental illnesses. Like they look you really weird, like you're a very weak person because you have a mental illness and you kind of have to hide it so you
Yeah, that
can be
sounds
socially
hard.
accepted.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds really hard. Yeah, it's a little bit different in the US. I think that's where I am because there's like mental health movements and like like awareness, mental health awareness. So, I can't imagine how difficult that must be because even still it's hard to hear with different ways that mental illness is looked at. So, I can't imagine being in a place where yeah, it's just looked at automatically as weakness. So, something I really want to talk about is the symptoms and how they present. So, one of the things that, if you look in the DSM, I believe it says is that people with borderline personality disorder lack empathy. Do you feel you have empathy? And if not, how do you think your level of empathy is different from others?
Well, it's kind of hard to keep relationships because I have very good cognitive empathy, but affectionate empathy I lack. So there's this misunderstanding with people, and they look me really weird because, for example, they're sharing me problems or crying or something, and I'm just trying to help them. Like, I'm observing the situation, I found them solutions and everything, and they start yelling at me because they just wanted a shoulder to cry on and that I didn't even care in some things. So after years of that, and I really thought I'm a bad friend, like legit. So I started like faking empathy so I can
Hmm.
have, to be easier.
Well, I mean, that's good. And that's like a selfless thing to do, right? I mean, you're like kind of forcing yourself to feel something that doesn't come naturally to you for the sake of other people. I think that's great.
Yeah, I don't want to hurt them, their feelings.
So you mentioned you have cognitive empathy but don't have effective empathy.
Yeah.
Um what what can you explain like the difference to that? Like I literally just had to Google it, but just for everybody listening, can you explain what the
Yeah,
difference
sure.
between those
So,
two?
cognitive empathy is when you understand other people's problems. But affectionate empathy is when you feel what they feel, like a sponge. You
Hmm.
just feel it all.
Do you think there are some cases, cuz like I've also heard that when someone with BPD can actually really relate to something or they've actually gone through that thing, then they do have more affectionate empathy. But then if it's something that they really can't relate to, like no experience, they've never felt the same way, then it's just like, mm, I don't get it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well, I don't
go ahead.
know other people with BPD. I mean, around me. I know from the groups I made some friends, and some of them have really good affectionate empathy. Some of them lack this. So,
Yeah, it depends on the person.
yeah.
um so let's see, my next question here is, okay, so I believe it was Marsha Linehan. I'm not sure how to pronounce her name, but this woman who pioneered a lot of research in BBD and DBT. She described people with BPD as are like people with third degree burns over 90% of their bodies emotionally, lacking emotional skin, and they feel agony at the slightest touch or movement emotion wise. Do you think that describes you? And if so, what is that like? Or what has that been like before treatment, if it's been different since treatment?
Well, it is like this, and it's fucking exhausting because y- you just get bothered by everything. I mean, by the look of someone or their tone or everything. And when someone abandons you, you feel like you've lost them, but like they died. This is how extreme you feel everything. Everything is heightened. It is just exhausting, and sometimes you just flip a switch and it's like you don't care anymore. And this is called, splitting.
Mm-hmm.
This is why we're borderline, because we either is black or white. We can't find a balance.
Yeah, definitely. And it sounds exhausting. And like the way I look at it is like that's probably something your body needs to do. If every single emotion is felt with such extremity and it's causing you that much distress, if you don't turn it off, like then what's the alternative? That seems like a defense mechanism, a coping mechanism for, dealing with that.
Yeah, that's right. And there's a lot of anxiety, and especially when you flip on someone and let all your rage out, and it feels good at the moment, and after that you regret because you might lost that somebody. they they're scared of you.
So people will say that people with this personality disorder tend to be manipulative. Do you see yourself as manipulative?
Unfortunately, I do. I
That
mean,
that seems like it'd be a really hard thing to come to terms with. So like I honestly kudos to you for being able to recognize that in yourself. That's amazing.
yeah, that's also like a coping mechanism because, most of us, if not all, have really low self esteem. So we're like a social chameleons. So we see a person, and when we meet that person, we want to know them, what they like, what they want from life, and everything. And we just get into that perfect image and manipulate them by that, by what their needs are. And most of the time, it's very exhausting. I mean, after time, because you just can't have the energy to keep up that act. So you just go back to yourself and they run away from you or something, or you run away from them because we have serious abandonment issues. So it's kind of like a paradox because we're afraid that someone is going to leave us. So we do everything to push them away and to prove ourselves that we are right and they are going to leave us. Like, fucked up shit.
Yeah, definitely. That sounds really difficult. Have you always felt that something was different about you? Like, has this something been something like you've known from a very young age? Like, something's off about me. The way I'm dealing with stuff isn't right. Other people aren't reacting this way. Something's up. Or, and if not, when did you realize that you were mentally or emotionally different than others?
So maybe when I was 15 or 16, the dissociation started, and they were extreme ones. Like some of the time, I was even paralyzed. I just couldn't move or anything. Nothing was real. I didn't know what what was I even. It was pretty scary, and then the panic attack started, and I was just a wreck. And I tried to seek help, but I just couldn't because everybody pushed me away and said everything is in your head and that kind of shit. So I just gave up until, I mean, all my relationships with others were not stable, and I was alone and under big stress, and that's when the hallucination started. And I
Mm.
was tripping really hard, and my mom found me one day in this kind of episode. She just dragged me to the psych ward and they locked me in there.
Yeah, that sounds rough.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, you're a survivor. You're a fighter. Like you didn't ask for any of this, and I'm very proud of you for
Thank
going
you.
to treatment and taking steps to better yourself because that is not easy. It's not.
No, it's not easy because when it's too much, you get like really suicidal, and that's pretty hard.
So has like you've definitely shown like a lot of self-awareness of like a lot of the negative things that this disorder can cause. How has self-awareness made a difference for you?
Well, when you're self aware of your trait, you're a more high functioning, so you have a better control because everything you do, you understand why you do it and how you can change it. And also, uh, cognitive behavior therapy really helps. And even when I'm not with my therapist, I try to uh, work with myself with that, and it helps.
How different was it, and how different were you before you became self-aware of these things? Like how have your symptoms changed since treatment? Like how are situations in life different?
So I was extremely self-destructive. It was so auto-aggression because I just felt like I deserved it, and I kind of got addicted to all this pain. But now with the treatment and everything, I mean, the anxiety isn't gone and the panic attacks aren't gone either. And sometimes when I'm under stress, I get hallucinations and dissociations, but I know how to deal with them, how to accept them, you know?
Have your
I have other perspective now.
Good. That's awesome. Have your relationships changed and gotten better?
Some of them, some of them not. I still make the same mistakes, more
Yeah.
or less.
Oh, yep. That's how it is, you know, like yep, it's just like a constant um thing that you have to keep focused on and keep working on. And yeah, but you know, it gets better. Fortunately with almost everything in life, it gets better.
Yeah, I
All
guess
right.
so.
Is
And
there okay, so go ahead.
it's very good if you have support, from friends or family or someone, because it's with this kind of mental illness, it's really hard to go through this on your own.
Oh yeah, I bet. Extremely hard.
So I think that other people with this should seek help from someone.
And if you
Not
could say one thing, like what's one thing you would want people to know about what it's like from the inside living with borderline personality disorder?
well, I don't know
Or two or
everything.
three things, as many things as you want, honestly.
So the communication is the key with us because we overthink a lot, and if people are not direct or they're aggressive, it might have not good turns. So
That sounds really I wholeheartedly agree with that. Communication is so important, and so many problems in the world
yeah,
could be avoided with just effective communication.
and people should they need to find a way to express their feelings, like with art or music or something like this. It's a relief. It's very healthy not to cage it all inside all the time.
Yeah. Okay, Maria, I want to thank you so much for coming on and sharing. Like you, it means so much to me that you came and shared about your life and what you go through. Um, I think I think everything you said was like amazing. I think your self awareness is so amazing, and I think the fact that you are healing and learning and growing is amazing. Um, and I want to thank you. Do you have any last thing you want to say before I end the recording?
I just admire what you do because people really need to be aware of all the mental illnesses. I mean, more acknowledgement, more support, more understanding.
Yeah, I agree. I think at the end of the day, more acknowledgement, support, awareness is kind of is it's better for everybody. Everybody. So,
Yeah, yeah.
all right. Well, thank you, and I'm gonna shoot you a message as soon as I end the recording.
Okay. Okay,
All right.
bye.
After we recorded, Maria sent me a message and she wanted to add this. She says that every person with BPD experiences it a bit differently. Some of the symptoms are heightened and others not so much. And so different people have some different symptoms that are more dominant. So she wanted me to add that in while she's speaking about her experiences on everything. And that's something that I hope we're going to cover in this series. I want to try to interview a lot of people with cluster B personality disorder diagnoses to basically give a better outlook at how these symptoms are experienced and how they present. I feel like that's super important just in like the humanization of everyone. And I might be overthinking this. I do that a lot. But that's something that I really hope that this series is able to do, is express what she just said, that people experience symptoms differently and some are more dominant, etc.